things all set up. Have something playing in the background so I'm not totally bored. Put on 13 or 12, why not? There you are. That should be enough. Okay, we got about okay. 1, 2. Oops. Okay, I guess we'll get started. Hey guys, it's Makeup Lover 2020, aka Aaron Bailey, coming at you with a live makeup tutorial. Today I wanted to do something that's a little more in-depth, showing what brushes I use, what my products are, what do I like, what I don't like. We're just here to have fun, have a good time. If you have any questions, feel free to type it up in the chat and I'll be sure to try chiming in as best as I can to answer all your questions. And with that, I guess we're going to get started. So for today's look, I wanted to do something subtle, but that wouldn't be fun now, would it? Today, I want to go in with the Tribe by Juvia's Place to play with these colorful palettes. I want to play specifically with the 3 green shades plus this iridescent. There's also like a green reflex in it, which is something I'm dying to play with. But like any makeup application, we need a good canvas. So after cutting your skin to high hell shaving, I'm going in with my top 3 primers, the Revlon Photo Ready Primer, the new e.l.f. Mint Melt Primer, which I'm pretty sure if you've watched Jeffree Star, that shows that this is a really good primer to help with any foundation application along with a fun cooling effect. And then to top it off, I have the Bear With Me spray primer from NYX Cosmetics that I love using as a topper. And with primer, I just simply use my hands for it. I mean, might as well, right? And if I keep looking up, it's because I keep staring at my computer on accident instead of looking at the little camera that's like right in front of me. So we got that. Just make sure every part of the face is covered. And for this tutorial, I'm going to try and make sure I'm getting everything on the camera, especially like my brows, my lips. If it's a little too bright, just let me know and I'll try toning that down as far as I can. And then we just let that sort of sit and melt into the skin for a minute or two. It gives me enough time to try to find my brushes since they're all stacked here. Sorry. So for foundation, I don't ever find any that's my skin tone because God knows you can never fully match it just right. But I have two that I've been using for a while now. I have the Urban Decay All Night in the shade 3.0, which it's, compared to me, it's fairly dark. But I mix it with this 110 Porcelain Maybelline Superstay Foundation, which gets both of them into the perfect combination. Now, when I do my makeup, and I've told plenty of my customers this, when I do my eyeshadows and stuff, I do the top half of my face first, shadow, liner. Once that's done, clean it up, and then do the bottom half. So let's get this started. And both of these foundations are full coverage, so a little goes a long way with them. So I just use a squirt each. And I'm using the Milani foundation brush. And then with that, I just and you use a stipple motion to apply it first, and then just using little circular motions to kind of blend everything out. And then I have a second mirror I check into just to make sure everything is, there we go. Just blend everything in together. So it is like a little more yellow, but then again, I play with more on the drag side, and with drag makeup, you don't need it to be as matching, especially when you're doing all sorts of, let's move this over here. There we go. And that way it shows like the lines and definitions depending on the style of makeup you're doing. And I'm just using this EcoTools like 360 complexion brush, which this will do. So for my concealer brush, I'm using the Real Techniques 221. It's just a big old dense buffing brush. And for concealer, I'm going to use the Hard Candy Glamouflage Coverage Concealer in the shade 170 Ivory. This for a $5.97 full coverage concealer, incredible. Just dot there. I focus mine on the center of my forehead and then just buff it out. Oops. And just sort of try to, as drag queens say, you have kind of like this half moon shape. You know what? There. That should be a little bit better. No, then I can't see. Sorry. There we go. And just buffing that out until it's nice and seamless. Now here's where the real fun begins, because I get so many compliments with this. We are moving on to brows. And for brows, I'm using the e.l.f. brow gel in the shade medium and a flat angle brush as a starter. What I love about the brow gel is that it just glides on, so you don't need a whole lot. And I generally try to get mine to start like somewhere right here, like that. So that's like a general shape that I need it to be. And then with that same buffing brush, we're going to take it and pull some of that product forward to blend it out, to blur it out like that. There we go. And then just buffing the concealer in to fade it. So that way we have what I like is an ombre brow. Now, before we go in and clean up after all that, I'm going to take a flat angle brush that I had botched into this angle, made from Mocha eyeshadow palette from Maybelline, and set this brow down first before we go and clean it up with the concealer, so that way it doesn't mix any of the product together. There we go. kind of like that way. So it can be a little messy. And then taking a flat edge concealer brush, which, actually first I need to blend out the front. So I take like a fluffy angle brush like this, which is also from e.l.f. and just pull that shadow forward a little. Kind of like that. And then if there's a little scraggles, I just get a blank fluffy brush. That just kind of cleans it up a little bit. And then we're also just going to buff out that front a little bit more. Okay. So we take a flat edge concealer brush, and then I'm also using the Makeup Obsession Mega Concealer in the shade 02, which is like their lightest one, I believe, next to the white one. Just put a little product on the brush. And then we're just going to clean up that underside of the brow to make it nice and crisp. And just like that, it just kind of cleans the brow up nicely. And now on to the other side. And this one you'll probably be able to see a little bit better since it's not in the light as much. Taking the same brow gel and try to get them as even as possible, if there is such a thing. And the good thing I always follow is that brows are sisters, never twins. So I don't ever want, they're never going to be even, but try to get as close as you can. Good enough. And then same as the first, take a little bit of brown shadow. All right. And then grabbing the concealer and the brush. So one of the things that's got me into makeup is one of my favorite shows, RuPaul's Drag Race. So we'll not be doing any spoilers on this talk. There we go. Now to set this underbrow, I'm going to be taking a white press powder, which is from the brand Revolution Cosmetics. And it's just a pure white press powder with a Real Techniques fluffy brush here. Because I always love a pure highlighted brow. So I like using white. Kind of like that. Okay, and then we're just going to set the top half of the concoction, which is mostly just air spun and a little bit of Maybelline. And I just take a Wet n Wild fluff brush here. Excuse me. Just a little bit, and then to brush off any of the excess, I take a CoverGirl blush brush and just dust off any excess powder. Kind of like that. And then to reinforce the brow color, I'm going to go back in with that same brow brush and color just to make sure that the edges are darkened, and then buffing out the front ends to make sure that it's completely ombre'd out. So it reinforces that brow a little bit more. And then same with the other side. And then taking a little bit of a flat edge brush like this little guy, I'm going to go in with one of my press powders, which is the Maybelline Fit Me press powder in the shade 100 Translucent, and using it to, hello? There we go. To buff out the center here, and it also highlights that concealer that we added earlier, while buffing out the front ends of the brows. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to change this up a little bit. Never said I was a professional at this. There, that should be a little bit better. Good. Oops. Okay, now we're going to get into the fun part, which is the eyes. So what we're going to do is go in with a white concealer from the same brand, Makeup Obsession, in the shade 01. And then using a flat edge concealer brush from Flower Cosmetics. And I love using white color shadow that you play with. Just like that. Now for the fun part. A little bit of Scotch tape. That way we have our perfect cut and angle. So like I said, we're going to be going in with this Juvia's Place, the Tribe, and going to play with all three of the green shades plus the center. You always want to start off with your lightest color and then work your way down to the darkest. So with that, we're just going to take a fluffy brush and we're going to take this like pistachio color. Sorry, there is a loose hair. There we go. And then we're just going to kind of work that onto the lid real quick. And this particular eye style I'm going to do is a cut crease. This is generally what I love wearing the most because it shows off shape, shows off fun color. Just little buffing circular motions to get that color payoff. That is like a bright neon green. Okay, and then with a second color, we're going to take another fluffy brush and we're going to go in with the more mid-tone green here. Tap off. This is just going to act as a bit of a transition shade. Sorry. And then we're going to go back in with that lighter green again, this other fluffy brush, and just kind of buff that out a little. Kind of like that so far. And now what we're going to do is take the same little concealer brush and the, where did I set it? Seriously, where did I set that concealer at? Oh. And then we're going to take this and cut the crease. So with that, I'll try showing you real quick. Go right under. Okay. And then we're going to take this little dense brush and go in with that center shade here. Tap off excess. Ooh. It's almost like a really cool color shift when it catches the light just right. And then we're going to take a third fluff brush and take that darkest shade called Sun. I honestly won't try pronouncing the other ones because I'm scared I'm just going to futz it up. And then we're just going to buff out that edge right there. And then we're just going to Kind of like that so far. And then we're going to take the middle color. Just kind of blend it. Oh, yeah. There we go. 1 second. Gotta grab one more of the brush. Okay. Now on to the Open Heart Surgery of All Makeup eyeliner. There we go. So I'm going to take this Physicians Formula liquid liner. Just recently started using this, and it glides on so smooth. It's so kind of buttery. Oh boy. Oh god, this is so bad. I got no space and no coordination here. Whew. And of course, always one drops down. And then just taking a little bit of a mini eyeshadow brush and then a black shadow. And we're going to use this to help set that liner so it keeps it from running. Kind of like that. So far, so good. There we go. And then with that, boom. And then just to kind of help clean things up, I'm going to take this Milani pen liner. There we go. And that just helps clean everything up to make it look nice and neat. And don't worry about the little mess. We'll clean that up with the foundation and concealer once we start doing the bottom half of the face. And now that we got in the first shape down, we'll move on to the next one. And since I already talked about this one I'd rather just talk straight up, I guess. So even though there hasn't been a lot going on, thankfully the snow here in Oklahoma is finally starting to go down. It's starting to melt somewhat, at least during the afternoons. And now the roads are starting to clear up and people can quit panicking. It's kind of hard to talk when there's okay. And going back in with that green. So I guess one thing I can start on topic with is what are some of my favorite makeup brands. Top of the list is, as far as like eyeshadow is concerned, would be Profusion Cosmetics. Their eyeshadows, I think, are super immaculate, super affordable, and great at pigmentation, like nonstop. As far as lips, I guess it's either a tie between like Wet n Wild and Hard Candy because of just finding lipstick colors that are like non-conventional, a nice way to put it, since they play with a lot of colorful stuff. And going back in and cleaning up the underside. Clean up that edge. Worry about that in a minute. This is like basically what my only eye shape I love because it not only complements my eye, but it also just looks really good. I drop a brush somewhere. Of course I would. It's just who I am. Found it. Now where did the eyeliner go? And this is the struggle bus to me every day because I have no way of putting something down without it just disappearing somewhere. Honestly, as soon as I set something down. One sec. Found it. It just looks like a brush. Ooh. One thing I love about liners when it's unpredictable. Just look straight up if you think you're going to cry. There we go. Now, just to add a little bit of making sure this crease shows, I'm going to use a Hard Candy white liquid liner. Kind of like that. And then just taking that darker color and just kind of buffing the edge. Just like that. Okay, now on to the second half. Sorry, I can't wait to get my hair cut. This is bunkus. And then taking about 2 to 3 pumps of each of the foundations. So that way we can cover all this down here. I hate it when a loose hair just falls on me. Okay, and now for this part with my concealer, I do use a really dirty beauty blender. And I basically do the whole top area, including the nose. And you'll see why. And I know it looks super stark right now, like how bright it is. But once I start using like any of my pressed powders, then it'll start like dulling down. And then taking that complexion brush and just kind of marrying the colors together. Awesome. Oh boy. I saw it earlier. Where did it disappear to? I'm trying to find my contour brush. Oh. Now for contour, especially for the nose, I'm going to be using this flat edge contouring brush, the Superstay Concealer in the shade 45. Tan. Just a little bit. So we start with the bottom. And then kind of like that. And then we're just going to take the butt end of the Beauty Blender, kind of buff out those edges, and then kind of like that. And then we just powder everything down and then get ready to do all the press powders. Whew. All right, now on to the fun parts. So I'm going to take that white powder again and using a flat edge Beauty Blender, because this is where my nose comes in, just taking a little bit And I always use the white because when everything is like done and over with, it doesn't look as bright. And then for my nose contour, I have a very specific brush that I like using, which is this EcoTools like flat angle brush. And then I use this Makeup Geek Sunkissed bronzer. Dab a little on, and then because I've learned not to do it so harsh before, because I used to use such a darker color and it would look super severe. Now I've learned to kind of lighten it a little, and then I'm going to take a Power Puff with a press, another Maybelline in the shade 110, and this one is Porcelain, and do the whole under eye situation. This is where that starkness is going to kind of disappear, because you just go kind of like that, and it also kind of thins that line down to where it's not as all over the place. Just like so. Now on to the contouring, and this is a 3-powder process because I use a dark tone, a medium tone, and a buffing tone. So we're going to go in with the medium tone, which is this e.l.f. finishing powder from medium to dark. And this particular Milani Kabuki fan brush. And then just follow along. And I just follow along the hollow of my cheekbone here. And then bringing it up to the forehead. And now for the darkest tone, I use a very light, fluffy brush like this little guy. This is a LUT 52 tapered highlighter brush. And then I use this L'Oreal True Match powder in the shade C9 Deep Cool. And it's like super severe, but we're going to just use this to kind of give the cheek a little bit of a chisel. And I'll show you how. And you just kind of keep it back here. And you just kind of keep it close to the hollow. But then we also buff it out severely with a with the buffing powder. And then I also use this big old, I guess this is a sleek brush. And then I use the number 7 press powder in the shade light to medium. And this just kind of softens everything up. And then also using the remains of that Deep Cool to do the under my nose, just to deepen that just a little bit. And then same thing with the other side. Wow, we're already near an hour. But we're not too far being done. And now we're going to take that same Beauty Blender, but we're going to go in with a bit of a darker color. This is the shade 120 Classic Ivory in the Fit Me powder. And we're going to use this to kind of cut under the cheeks to give it that look. So just take that. And it looks harsh now, but once we blend everything out, you won't really notice it. Oh, yeah. Now, for women, you don't normally have to do this, but because I'm a guy, all that, I'm going to take the medium tone powder. And then using what's left on the darkest color. And then we're just going to take more of the buffing color. Oh, yeah. And now on to my favorite blush. And I got 3 colors here I'm going to play with. I have the Just Glow Silk Blush in the shade Cheek Me Out by Hard Candy. The ColourPop Petal Pusher, which is like this purple tone. And then this is an oldie, but it's still tried and true. A Fox in a Box Hard Candy Blush in the shade Smooth Talker, which is kind of like this like neutral tone. So for the Petal Pusher, I'm going to use like this Real Techniques fluff brush. So it just kind of softens it up a little bit. And now on to the Cheek Me blush from Hard Candy. I'm using a more tampered brush. So it just kind of softens it up just a little bit. And then I'm just going to take that same 120 press powder. Reinforce that. And now on to the fun part. So we're going to take my loose powder and a powder puff that I have specifically dedicated to it. Nasty. And then we're just going to start baking. Okay. And then we're going to take that Fox in a Box blush plus this Fluffy Wet n Wild brush, which I've used dedicated just for blushing and use it to kind of buff out this line so that way it doesn't set like this. There we go. And we just let that sit for about 5 minutes or so, if not more or less. Start putting up some of the stuff since we're not going to be reading anytime soon. And while I'm letting this bake real quick, I'm going to grab some of my favorite highlighters before we get into the under eyes. And there are 3 I'm going to use since we are doing a more neutral tone or like green tone. I'm going to play with a couple of gold toned styled highlighters to really kind of complement the green look. God, these eyes are good. Okay, and then and just like that, those lines aren't really there, but it helps emphasize your cheeks looking more prompt and nice. So first highlighter we're going to go in with is the L'Oreal Lumi highlighter in 102 Gold. And just using this Real Techniques fluffy brush. First set. Then we're going to go in with this Physicians Formula Rose All Day highlighter in the shade Freshly Plucked, which is a more goldy tone. Now, if you're somebody that has like super textured skin or is very oily and you're not trying to accentuate that, try focusing your highlighter right here on the apple of your cheeks, because then that way the light catches it just right and it's not accentuating the look. And then we're taking the pineapple highlighter from I Heart Revolution. All right, now on to the under eyes. And for this, we're going to do a few things. First off, take this NYX Jumbo Crayon in the shade Milk. And using this to open up the under eye. Whew. Okay. And now, before we get into anything, I'm going to take that same setting brush and a little bit of black, and we're just going to underline the white a little bit before we start buffing it out with color. And then we're also going to take that same Wet n Wild Hard Candy liquid liner and open up this line. Just to sort of create that little false cat look. Okay. Kind of like that so far. Now we're just going to take some of that darkest green without picking up any other product. Buffing that under first. Same thing with the secondary green. And then taking the final green. And then we're going to take that Milani liner and just really reinforce this under eye a little bit. Kind of like that. And then just using this to reinforce that liner. There we go. And then just taking that lightest green brush and just sort of buffing out a little bit more. Oh, yeah. And then before going on to the lips, I'm just going to do a little bit of brow details here. So I'm taking these 3 brow pens, 2 of them by Rimmel Cosmetics in the shade medium and dark, and then a medium brown hard candy brow pen. Taking the medium tone first. First off with the lightest, then second darkest. And now on to the one that I hate the most, but works just as effective. And then we're just going to take that little fluff brush from before. Just kind of blend out the edges here. So that way it just kind of looks a little bit more natural. As natural as you can get anyway. Now on to the lips. Oh boy. For today's lips, I'm just going to do a standard browns with a little bit of a holographic topper. So I'm going to take this Liquid Suede NYX in the shade, I think this one's called Club Hopper. Top it off with this Perfect Storm from Revlon, this Color Stay Satin ink. And then topping it off with a Rimmel Wild Iridescence. Just give it a little something. So this is one that I dread the most, is doing lips. And normally I would use a lip liner, but I don't have one in the color that I really want to do this with. So this Club Hopper will be the starter. There we go. Right. Now on to the Color Stay. Now we could just stop here and make it look cute, but come on. We know we didn't just come for cute. So now I'm topping it off with this Wild Iridescence from Rimmel. It just ties in that green right into the eye. Okay. Once again, got to grab something and then I'll be right back. Okay, now on another favorite of mine, lashes. So I'm going to stick with my traditional pair that I love using, which are these like big old drag lashes that I've custom made. One of my coworkers, Mary, thank you, gave me a couple of these lashes that she got from Amazon, saying that they were too big for her eyes. So I just stacked them on top of a couple of like galas and made sure that it was all kind of like cohesive, and they worked perfectly for me. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of mascara first to get these lashes a little darkened so that way they sit easy. I'm going to use the Maybelline Snapscara in the shade Black. Nope. Okay. So my trick when I do lashes is I draw the lash so big because it kind of sits like above the lash, but right where my hooded lid fold begins. Look at that, we're only an hour and 13 minutes. So my tools for using, I use a pair of tweezer applicators, which I got these at like Walgreens. You can probably find them at a Dollar Tree as well. Some lashes will come with one that are like really rinky-dink. I prefer these full-size ones. And then my lash adhesive is this Kiss Lash Strip Adhesive. So we'll start with the right eye because that's my best one. I take the lash, make sure it's on the tweezer first, and then I coat the lash band with the glue. Make sure it's just kind of smeared on there. And then if it looks like too much, I take my finger and dab it a little bit to get rid of any excess. Wait about maybe a good couple seconds. Oh boy. One down, one to go. And really with lashes, it's just all trial and error. You just got to find what works best for you. I always try getting rid of like the inner corners first, so that way it's not like digging into my eye and irritating the living hell out of me. Left one always seems to work the best because my right eye is actually a little wonky. But do what you do best to make it work. And let those kind of sit and wait a minute. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit more of that iridescent lip topper just to make it a little nice. There we go. And then the mascara I love using to coat both the lashes. I love using the Scandalized Volume on Demand because of how ridiculously fluffy this brush is. But unlike most mascaras, this doesn't tug on the lashes. and just pushes them right together. And like I said, the right lash is always a little wonky, but hey, you do what you do best, and I think I do it well. Well, guys, this is the look. Granted, it might have been a pretty quiet night, but I'm hoping that this tutorial really helped you show my tips and tricks on how I do my makeup. And I hope to see you guys again soon. Until then, stay lovely, stay beautiful, and most of all, stay safe. Love you guys so much, and I'll see you all next time. And you can follow me on my Instagram, which is at MakeupLover, LUVR 2020, on Instagram, Facebook, even Twitter. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Until then, bye.